Hi guys, this is going to be a video about the first steps you need to take to getting your Category C or your Category C1 driving licence to drive vehicles which are above 3.5 tonne. Taking a Category C1, you will be licensed to drive lorries or trucks up to 7.5 tonne. If you are wanting to take your Category C, you will be licensed to drive lorries and trucks and up to 12 tonnes in size. So with this in mind, a lot of people who just want to drive horse boxes and things like that will just take a Category C1. That's initially what I was going to go for, but I decided in the end to go for a Category C just because it's a good thing to have on your licence. It gives me more options in the future in case I want to drive buses, just other vehicles. It just keeps a lot of options open, and the reason I chose to do that was because the price difference between taking a C1 and a Category C is almost nothing. It's less than £100. So with that in mind, you may want to have a think about that. The size of the vehicle that you take your test in is quite a bit larger if you're taking a Category C, but I'm not scared, and I think that if I feel confident in an 11-tonne lorry, which is what I would be driving, then I will feel confident in my 7.5-tonne lorry. I did actually buy it, the Mercedes. If you've watched my previous videos, I will make a separate video when it comes down, but yeah, that was my reasons for choosing to do a Category C. Like I said in a previous video, the steps towards finding out what you have to do, it's not that straightforward and it's not easily found, and if you're somebody like me who is quite lazy and likes to have information spoon-fed to you, then I'm hoping this is what I'm going to be able to do. So I've made a couple of notes on my computer just to talk you through. The first thing that you will need to do if you want to get a C or a C1 on your licence is to identify the driving school with who you want to take your test. I chose a particular driving school because I was told it was a good one by a friend, so I kind of reached it through a word of mouth type of thing, but it's easily Googleable. Just type in Category C driver training into Google, and you will find stuff in your area. And it's going to cost me for everything, which is the cost of the theories, the cost of the lessons, which are 3 days in length, 8 till 4. It's pretty intense. And the test itself is going to cost me just over £1,000, and that's pretty standard from, I rang around a couple of other driving schools and they're all about the same. So yeah, so you need to identify your driving school, you need to give them a ring. Quite often, if you book with a driving school, they will arrange a lot of this stuff for you. Because my situation is a little bit different and I'm quite limited as to the times I can do things, I have had to arrange a few things off my own back rather than through them, but that's been fine. So once you have identified the driving school you want to go with and potentially have a date in your head about when you want to take the test, the first thing you need to do is get your medical exam. So if you want to drive anything above 3.5 tonnes, you have to be medically certified. In the UK, you have to be medically certified by a doctor that you are safe to drive a vehicle of that size. So you will need to find a doctor. Like I say, this is often done through the driving school, but if you're doing it off your own back, you need to find a private doctor who is willing to do the medical exam with you. The form that you need to take, you can find on the government website. It's called a D4 medical examination report for a Group 2 licence, brackets, lorries and minibuses. So it's a D4 you need to take. Quite often, if you're booking through, a doctor who does this quite routinely, they will have all the forms there ready to go. That's what happened in my case. So you just need to fill that out, and the doctor needs to fill that out, and that's the first thing that you have to do. You can't apply for anything until you've had that medical exam. I went for the medical exam last week. it was kind of like a really standard sort of doctor's exam, had my blood pressure taken, height, weight, eyesight, you know, it was really standard. There wasn't any like blood taking or urine sampling or anything like that. They do go over your medical history, so I had to disclose a few things, but nothing that should stop me from driving. There seem to be quite a lot of things on the form about diabetes, so if you have diabetes, you might want to double check that. Obviously I don't have diabetes, so I'm okay, and also epilepsy, but obviously epileptics will be aware that that impacts a normal car license anyway. So once you've done your D4 and you filled it out, I will just add that getting a doctor to sign that form cost £40. I initially rang up my GP and asked, and they do it, but they charged £100 for the privilege of literally signing the bottom of a page. So if you find that your GP is also quoting you something that seems quite expensive, I urge you to shop around online. Like I say, I got mine done eventually for less than half of what my GP surgery quoted me, so it's well worth looking into. Once you have completed your D4, you will need to get a D2 form from the DVLA. So you've got your D4 medical and you also need your D2. Your D2 is the provisional application for driving a lorry, bus or minibus. You need to fill that out. Oh, sorry about the light. You need to fill that out. To fill out your D2, you will need your passport and your current driving licence. If you don't have a passport, you're going to have to do something different, and I don't know quite what you would do. You'd have to look into that or ring the DVLA. I had a passport, so it's as simple as you don't send your passport in. You do send your driving licence in with the package. So your D4, your D2 and your driving licence all go in the same letter. But you do not send in your passport. What you need on your passport is your passport number. So the DVLA will check your identity with the passport office through that number. So just put the number on, don't send in your passport, but do send in your driving licence. I personally, now there is no fee for putting another category, or at least a category C1 or a C on your driving licence. There is no fee, it's free to do. You just need to fill in the forms. But because I wanted to update my photograph, because my photo on my driving licence is the same one I've had since I was 16, and I quite frequently get people querying my photo because I sadly, having children has taken its toll and I don't look the same as I did when I was 16. So I had to enclose the fee for changing your photograph is £17. You can't send cash. So I sent in a postal order, which you can just get from the post office. It's a bit sort of antiquated, but that's how it's done. I sent all that off together. So the D4, the D2, driving licence and the money if you're applying to change your photo, all in the same form. Now you have to be careful because on the back of the D2 there is a list of different addresses for the DVLA, because depending on what you're doing there's like multiple different places where your forms will go. So you need to be really, really careful on the back that you select the address for what you want to do and send it there. Once you have sent that off, I think the turnaround on that is 3 weeks. After the 3 weeks, so I sent mine off yesterday, so I'm hoping in 3 weeks' time that I will receive my provisional licence. Now this is a provisional, which to my surprise does mean, just like a car provisional, I can actually drive a vehicle up to 12 tonnes as long as I've got somebody who's got a category C on their licence already and they've been driving, I think it may be like 3 years that they've held that. So technically I could get some lessons in early. I'm not sure I'm going to do that because she's supposed to be doing a biochemistry degree alongside all this, if you can believe it. So yeah, I don't have much time right now, but I'm just getting my provisional sorted because the next thing you need to do is book your theories. There are 2 theory tests that you have to have completed before you get behind the wheel in the driving school. I will make a separate video on those because I have not booked them yet. My test isn't for another sort of 3 or 4 months, so it's quite far off in the future, and I want to do the theories A, after my exams, and B, when, closer to the time, so it's a little bit more fresh in my mind. So yeah, that is the first step to getting your provisional category C. And obviously, once you do pass your test, you will be issued with another license with the category on the back. So basically, to summarise again, number 1, you have to get a D4 form and you have to get it filled out and signed by a doctor. Number 2, you have to get a D2 form and fill it out yourself with your passport number. You also need your driving licence, and you need to make sure that it's sent to the right place. Number 3, once you have received your provisional licence back, you can get behind the wheel and get some practice in if you wish, but you need to make sure that the person who is with you in the cab has held a category C for, I think, at least 3 years. And number 4, the next thing you have to do is book your theory tests. I will make a separate video on that. I hope this has helped somebody along the way, and I will see you in my next video.